This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
It's the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast.
We're old school, right? We wash our own dirty laundry.
The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back.
I refuse to be judged by a grown man wearing a hockey jersey.
Game on! Game on!
We are back with another episode of the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast, episode 92. Wade Hampton, Paul Rank, and Matt McGonnell joining us this evening across. We have covered both the East and West Coast and the Midwest all in one show.
Just need the mountains out.
What's that?
We need the mountains out, and we're all set.
We'll work on that for the next one. A lot of good stuff to talk about. We're in the midst of the playoffs. We're watching the scores tonight. Last night was a shocker, I think, for some with the Golden Knights and the Oilers, and the Maple Leafs, as usual, are on the cusp of being eliminated just now in the second round instead of the first. And right now, watching the Hurricanes and Capitals. If the Hurricanes do it, Caps are done, and Ovi can rest for a bit. The drink this evening, Dark Horse Distillery Reserve. Very good bourbon. I've had this bottle for a while. Finally, I emptied it with this drink tonight, so I have to pick up some more of that. I am slowly freeing up my 2 liquor cabinets, so that's also helpful. But cheers to everybody.
Cheers.
Wade has his Dr. Pepper. Matt, hopefully you have something good, and Paul has a cup with something in it. Speaking of drinking, as always, the Drink Your Face Off line of barware and clothing, thanks to Mitch. He's put out some more pictures and stuff of his bottle opener pucks and that. So please reach out to Mitch if you want any of that. Especially looks cool for summer parties. A lot of people like those puck bottle openers. I was somewhere recently and saw they were just blank pucks, but they were done with the bottle openers on them. So I do even see them occasionally around here, so it's a cool little thing to have. Auction-wise tonight, not a lot to talk about. We covered a bunch last week. There are no new auctions that I stumbled across. If there are any team auctions that people are aware of, please send those to me. It's hard to keep track of all 32 teams of who, if people are auction stuff or whatnot. I do know Classic will have another auction coming up in June. I saw some stuff teased for that, including a Crosby helmet, so that will be coming soon. Also, if you are going to any equipment sales, we're waiting to hear the date for the Blues one, so Wade and I can cover that. Paul graciously already covered the San Jose one. Matt will hopefully make it to someone's out that way. How many teams are you relatively close to that you could possibly visit?
I'm within 3 hours or less of Philly, Pittsburgh, Washington, New Jersey. I think those 4.
Wow. So hopefully you can maybe go to one of them, see what one of those teams are like. If you do, we will get you on and talk about it. We have a ball with it. As I was talking before we started recording, I'm testing some portable recording equipment. So while Wade and I are in line, we'll do kind of maybe a mini show and interview some of the random other people that wait in line. Because last year we made some friends with some really cool people that, one, were just hockey players, not collectors, there to get gear to play in, and just some of the stories and different stuff we told. And then I will have to, Wade, one of us is going to have to video it this year because the other one will be looking at their phone to Zapruder the Blues video release. Usually about a half hour to an hour before the doors open, the Blues media team puts out like a walkthrough video. And I mean walkthrough, like they fly through the damn thing. Yeah. But we will then, when they post it to social media, we will then dissect it down frame by frame to figure out what's where and if we can see what the pricing is and things like that. So it gets to be funny because we're Zapruder level looking at these videos. And everybody's on their phone trying to say, well, I see this, and the price looks like that, or they have this many sets of pads or whatever it is. So it's just fun to do some of that. I want to try and get some more videos and reaction stuff this year.
I think the funniest part is every year we're like, oh, we're going to take pictures when we go in. And then as soon as we walk in, we're like, people are running down and trying to run past you. And like, it just gets silly. And then like 3 hours into it, after I've been standing around for a while, I'm like, oh, I got to get some pictures.
Right. Yeah, I had a handful last year. I may try and almost mount a GoPro somewhere on myself and do it that way, so I can at least say we got video and stuff and chop it up into photos. But we think it's coming soon. I'm starting to build my war chest for it as always. So
You got to keep me away from the name bar table.
those always get dangerous.
Oh
So
man,
refresh my memory. What time did you guys get in line last year? If I remember
Last
right,
year
it was the
wasn't-
night before. But
no, last year wasn't as bad. I mean, I think what did it open this last year? Was it like noon or 1 or something, Doc, or was it later?
It
than that?
no, it opened at I thought 4 or 5, and
Okay,
we
yeah.
were in line at noon or at 11.
Correct.
oh,
Yeah. So the previous
Wow.
years, like it would open on like Saturday morning at like 9 or 10 a.m. And in a couple of those cases, I know the year that they did the big jersey release, I got down there that night before at 11 p.m. and I was there from 11 p.m. till 10 a.m. the next morning when they opened it. That was pretty wild just because of like the door that they had us like waiting at is kind of like secluded and didn't feel the safest. Um, but it was a fun night. And then they've kind of changed the format around. So and also I think they've taken a lot of the stuff that people used to go crazy for. You know, there used to be just piles of helmets and tons and like it used to be I still think that there's still the same draw to get there early, but I think a lot of people have wised up to the fact that there's not as much crazy stuff gonna be there. So I don't think people are like quite as crazy.
They've
as
done
they,
a lot through their auctions and through their Ringside Reserve website for a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, the stuff that would have been in just the summer sale or what have you is now siphoned out early. I think, we talked about that previously with some other stuff. Like I know we talked about with the Sharks last week. When the team starts siphoning out that stuff early, it takes away the draw of getting there early. Now here, if the Blues like a couple years ago dropped a picture that shows they've got 500 jerseys, hung up in a room that's going to be available, then I think that line increases and the time my arrival increased earlier as well.
Yes, because one of the years previous to the Jersey one, I was out there at I think 12:30 or 1 a.m. Wade, you got in there 4 or 5 a.m. for I think a 9 or a 10 o'clock opening, including one of my friends, the first in line, sleeping with an inflatable mattress at the door. And downtown St. Louis, it felt a little unsafe, but luckily the person we were with was a Missouri police officer and was armed in case anything did go down. I mean, because there was 10 or 12 of us, but still it was just some of the logistical things that you have to deal with being in line 7-8 hours, like the bathroom. Those are some challenges you have to navigate as some of the other people I think was staying at long term at different sales like that are waiting for them. That does happen.
The year that you're talking about was the year that after we had won the cup. And
yes,
I remember I stopped at like the sketchiest McDonald's in downtown St. Louis to bring everybody breakfast sandwiches. And I remember being like in line, like I ordered 20 breakfast sandwiches. And I remember being in line being like, man, this probably isn't the best idea.
But it's, it's one we'll never forget. And I think it was either the year after that or the year before that one was a fun one. Because it was in the concourse of the arena, but it was on the side entrance. And there had been about a dozen or so of us that had been there, since like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think it opened at 5. And the Blues had ordered pizza for all their staff doing the setup. And they had several pizzas left over and actually brought it to us.
Yeah.
Outside. And then they actually knew we'd been out there so long. Security came out and said, hey, we're going to kind of give you a short path. There's a bathroom right here if you guys need to come in and use the bathroom. We're making sure you don't go down and look at the stuff or anything, but they actually let us come into the arena and use the bathroom. And that was, I thought was a nice thing as well.
If you remember that the year before that one was the year that they had it on the ice.
Yes.
Or on the concrete. And I remember as we were going in, like waiting to watch somebody go tumbling down an entire like section 100 onto the ice, which I
Yeah,
don't
be
think
the first
happened.
one to face plant down the
But
stairs.
I hate to say I was hoping that somebody would like eat it just because I wanted to see the tumble. But yeah, there's there's been some memorable times with that. It's hard to not say they're not fun to sit out there in your lawn chair for hours and hours. And
Yeah, I mean, we bring coolers and we talk stories, and we're messaging with people that aren't there. Some people will message us, "Hey, I'm looking for this," or whatever it is. And if you have stories like that, if you've I know we kind of cover this heavy this time of year because it's happening. But if you've got fun stories like this, reach out. We'd love to have you on and tell some of them too, because it's another. Besides the expos, I find this is the next one of the next most fun things because a bunch of us are getting together, hanging out, and it could be at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, and you're just the excitement and what you do to pass the time and stuff. So it is fun.
yeah,
It is fun.
it's an
I've
enjoyable
done
hobby.
that too in New Jersey before you guys were doing yours back in, what is it, 8, 9? There's a bunch of us from Andrew Wojciechowski to Jordan Wampierski. I'm getting all the Polish names out of the way quick. But uh, who else was there? Ken Kern, Dougie Hamilton. Not the player, but
Yeah,
we were out there in Newark, New Jersey,
yeah.
which isn't an especially great place. And the subway's getting robbed, and the guy's coming over to us saying, "Hey, they came through the roof again." And I'm thinking to myself, "Did you say again?" So it happened twice.
Yeah.
And then
Jeez.
prostitutes are coming up to us, talking to us, and ladies
They
said,
knew
"Hey, I
you
could
had
take
big
good."
money with you.
Yeah, she's like, "I could take good care of you," and I said, "Oh, I'm here with my wife," and she looked at my wife and said, "I can include her," and I was
Oh,
like, "Nah." But
shit.
yeah, going in there, we had similar experiences. All the sticks are on the ground, and people are picking them up, and people are getting jabbed in the crotch because people are like turning them around and not looking. And saw a girl like get poked in the boob. Another guy got like a bloody nose, and they're just
Jeez.
good times. But you are right. Like we're there, and I got a call like one night to show up, and I said, "Who's there already?" And Anthony Mario, he's on Facebook. He was there, and he's standing outside at 11 o'clock at night, and this lady's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the James. I can't think of the artist. Think of a famous James that would be like rock, 70s, 80s. It doesn't matter, but he like the entrances are for the shows over there, and he's like, "No, I'm for the equipment sale," and she's like, "That's not for another 12 hours." He goes, "Yeah, I'm the first one in line."
But you know what? That's we're dedicated. And
Yeah.
again, if you're out there and you know, because it's hard to keep track of all the different teams with that. If your teams has been published, shoot it to me. We'll try and kind of keep a running list as the dates come up. We will mention it. So with that, speaking of really cool hobby related news, I believe Paul has some information to share in order on a earth shattering, groundbreaking, old school thing.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I would, but that's just me. I'm
okay.
excited.
More hyperbole. Excellent. Um, well, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about sites going away. GameWar.net was one of the examples we had, and how the forum died, and then now the rest of the website's down. So us here at Dirty Laundry have decided to take it on ourselves, and we're starting our own forums similar to GameWar.net, but with some additional categories and stuff. We're actually starting the beta of it yesterday, and being Wednesday, we're recording on Thursday. And if anyone from listening to this or on it wants to join in and sign up for an account, the URL is forums.dirtylaundryhockey.com. And go ahead, Doc. Oh, you were trying to type. That's why you were
Can you
talking.
guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah,
Paul looked at you like you were
I'm
stroking
sorry?
out, though.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was like, what's going on with Doc there?
There we go. Sorry.
So we're okay, excellent.
Let's
Well,
try
we're
that.
still making a lot of changes with it, but and there will be bugs. We want feedback on it, but we want to eventually get to critical mass and get people signed up. And I know the old GameWar.net forum was great, with going back 10 years plus. And then something happened, which we've discussed before, and it was a little bit of a ghost town since then. And now it's totally dead. So a complete ghost town. So ideally, we would like to have this take off. We're open to suggestions of what you'd like to see added. The look and feel of it will be changing over the next couple weeks and months. We reserve the right to change anything we need to. We're gonna take a much lighter approach on censorship than what GameWarn.net did. We're not running an auction house. We're not afraid of criticism of us. So in the old days, if you criticized a jersey in GameWarn auctions.net, there was a good chance your account was going to be banned. That will not happen here. We still want to keep it civil, keep it clean, and on topic. But as long as you stay on topic, we're not going to be deleting stuff or banning accounts because you're critical or questioning the authenticity of a jersey. That's available somewhere. And I don't know. Take a look at it. We'd love to get people signed up. We'll talk about this next week, see what our numbers look like. And
give
try to craft.
Sorry, Paul, with the audio had screwed up. Give the page again too, would you please?
Oh, okay. It's forums.dirtylaundryhockey.com. So forums.dirtylaundryhockey.com. Spelled exactly as you would expect, unless they screwed up when I registered the domain, which I did
Can I
not.
say how tremendously awesome this is? This is great. I don't know if the goal is to bring it back from Facebook, which I would actually really like, but I think it's tremendous, and I applaud all three of you or whoever's involved in it.
This
Great
was
job.
all on this was all Paul. I mean, we discussed the idea, but Paul has done all the tech stuff on it, getting it all set up. There's the look of the page there. But this is, Paul has sent messages. Hey, I've tweaked this. Go get signed in. Check these things out. But he has put in all this hard work to bring this back up and make it look really good.
Yeah, I can't take any technical.
Well, you guys keep providing feedback too, because we keep changing things, and Doc has the rights to change whatever he wants on it. So we'll get there. And thank you, Matt. I don't think this is not meant to replace Facebook or anything like that. It's meant to complement it. Yeah, I kind of think the combination. I think we need a forum, and that's where. There's nothing right now that GameWarn.net was gone, and we don't have the baggage that GameWarn.net had. And I think we need Discord, and ideally, I like what they're doing on Reddit too. So we have 4 different platforms, which I think covers a lot of the hobby. And I know a lot of people don't want to be on Facebook, and I think a lot of us are only on Facebook because of the hobby. Otherwise, we would have been long gone by now.
I think it definitely provides an old school feel to bring back something, and it also provides an opportunity for people who maybe aren't Reddit or Discord savvy, and like you said, are tired of Facebook. If that makes any sense, right? So I think it's a great alternative, and it offers people a fun way to do the hobby, maybe the way they used to do it, but with a modern spin.
Thank you. And I agree with what you're saying there. That's what we're looking at, and hopefully it will be successful. And we'll do our best on moderating it and trying to keep the censorship to a minimum. If it's I'm not going to say right now, but if things get out of line, yes, we will have to remove some posts. I mean, be nice. It's. Treat people like you're in the real world, not hiding behind a keyboard.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? You probably already have it, but do you have a section? I know you were always saying about, we should, if these sites that offer these the LOAs and they go to our site and you can research what team set was from here to here. Could we put something like that on there, like a team FAQ section? With okay, this year the Devils wore this, or San Jose wore this set from this set, and throw it in sections like that? Would that be too hard? Or would that be a good
No,
idea?
I like the idea, and we've actually considered stuff like that, but outside the forum.
Okay.
Outside of forums.dirtylaundryhockey.com, we will also be launching a dirtylaundryhockey.com webpage, which the stuff you're talking about, Matt, will be absolutely perfect for it, because what you're alluding to, it's more static pages.
Yeah.
It's what the Devils wore in 1992. Once we
Yeah.
know that and have it well documented, should not be changing, except for like annotations and and minor improvements to it. It's not really a dialogue that would be going on, but I think the discussions on it are perfectly good for a forum.
Yeah.
But yes, right now I host some of the stuff on Opert. I have the what I have in the list of expos, the list of where to buy game worn jerseys. I have a small Michigan jersey guide. I have the Sharks preseason stuff for like the last 15, 20 years on there, training camps. And we'd like to expand that to more teams and move that to Dirty Laundry Hockey.
And we want to work with the researchers that are out there that research these teams heavy, no matter what it is, because there's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel, or we definitely don't want to copy their information. As we want their permission. Hey, can we just link back to your site so you can, here's the Blackhawks, here's the Blues, here's the Capitals, here's the Penguins. So everybody knows who puts those up, and to give them the credit that they deserve for doing all that work.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because this is not just us. This is a group effort. It's a hobby effort. And again, the forums, we want yet another tool in a toolbox, another good place to go for discussions. And I know some people say, "Oh, it's overwhelming. We have so many." But when you make it good, you make it right, you set it up good. And like Paul said, is some people are not on Facebook, and Wade said maybe people aren't Reddit or Discord savvy. This is the old school way that any of us over the age of, call it 30, used or had at least experienced to some level or another.
I agree.
And it's 31.
There you go.
I think it's great. And I think it's a great opportunity for the hobby to grow centrally, and for, I'm going to use Doc's word, for the people with expertise to have a place to centralize it, right? We can put grails out there even for me. And
we're going to be searching for experts who want to contribute.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't stop.
Call them grail experts.
Yes. Yeah. I do want to circle back to what Doc and Matt were saying about consolidating information stuff there. I actually take intellectual property rights very seriously. So we will not be copying data from other websites without any permissions. If Migrate gives us permission to put the population reports on there, we'll do it. But I think, as Doc said, we'll be putting a bunch of links in there. If someone has a great New Jersey Devils guide, we'll go ahead and link to that. We're not copying anything from that. That's their intellectual property, and we're not stealing it.
They've put a lot of time and effort into those, and shown their research for whatever team it is amazing, and it's well appreciated, and we want them to all know that.
Yes.
But yes, please get signed up if you have issues or have questions, or even, hey, what about if you guys added this discussion group or that? Send us that stuff, because we've thrown, and again with Paul's expert leadership in this, and I'm in IT, but I suck at website stuff. That's why I hate programming or doing any of this. So Paul is the expertise on that. But we've had a lot of discussions on, okay, what about this group, or should we do these things and about that? But we only have so many brains. So if you think of other things, send us a suggestion, because we may be able to work that in or tweak this, because this is not locked into what you see right now. We may change the color.
We're looking for help.
Yes.
Yes, we need help.
So don't worry about sending us, well, I think this topic setup sucks or whatever, let us know. Trust me, we got a lot of constructive feedback after last week's show, so we can take it. And that is before we get in the other topic of this evening. That's something I meant to say at the top of the show and forgot. We had people reach out to us on our thoughts on both the Grail stuff and my disliking of the term expert, and we had some fantastic discussions.
Sure.
They were good. They were very fluid, and we appreciate that. We will, as somebody that was in political talk radio for 6+ years, I'm used to pissing people off, and I'm used to people not always agreeing with my take. That's life. But if you can't take the other person's opinion or take the time to even listen to them, you may still think they're wrong, but listen to them anyway, because you may either learn something or you may have a meet in the middle moment, things like that. So for the ones that reached out or made comments, thank you.
Yeah, I think both of us in conversations with people and then in group conversations, we learned a lot about, I think we shared our opinions and we learned a lot about other people's opinions. And ultimately, I think they were all really great discussions. There probably were a couple that happened without us involved, and I'm sure those were probably pretty comedic. But at the end of the day, like, I'm thankful to all the people that reached out, and I'm thankful to have a chance to stir some controversy and some opinions in the hobby, and I enjoy this a lot. So thank you to everyone who did reach out.
I do want to just add in one thing on feedback for the forum.
Yeah.
We actually have, under the off-topic grouping, we have forum feedback, and that's at this time open to anything. Like I said, we're willing to do a lot of redesigning, adding new categories. Feel free to post your suggestions, criticisms, whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but feedback related. Yes. And if you're uncomfortable putting it on a public forum, just message one of us and get it to us. But
you will not be shamed or made fun of or chastised in any way. This is the kind of stuff that we want. And if you see problems with how the things work or whatever, let us know. Even I like the piece you put in there, Paul, with the other hobbies, because a lot of people do have, besides the hockey collecting, they have something else. So, I mean, my hobby-ish is bourbon. So there may be bourbon discussions in there, things like that. But it is an ever-evolving, fun place to go, and we want it to continue to be that. And again, I appreciate your hard work, Paul. I know you've spent a lot of time on this, sending screenshots and tweaking things, and we've tested some of the back end stuff and all that. And it does not go unnoticed, and I hope the rest of the hobby appreciates your hard work as well.
Thank you, and let's have this thing take off. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
I'm hopeful by the end of the weekend we'll see at least double-digit signups for people joining. I mean, close to 100. I'm hopeful. We'll see.
I'm holding off posting this on Facebook, Discord, and other places for a couple of days. Let's get the Dirty Laundry folks in there first.
Yeah. And I will, as long as you're okay with it, I will put it in the description on YouTube and Spotify and that, just so people don't have to pay attention to the audio or write it down. They can follow the link in the post. So it will at least show up in the forum. You just have to catch it.
Please do, because we can't expect people to pay attention.
Right. I mean, we talk and ramble. You could miss things like that. All right. So Matt brought us an interesting topic, and we are dead in the middle of the playoffs. So what did you want to cover on that, sir?
Can I ask a quick question before we go to it? This is really exciting still. And
let me make a quick note before you ask the question.
Okay.
Bye-bye Capitals. As of now, the Hurricanes game just got finished with them winning 3-1, and the Hurricanes move on. All right, so now to your question.
And I want to say, when I ask these questions or question, I can't decide if I'm going to ask more than one. I think it's just going to be, I'm so excited about it. And my questions are based solely on making this as amazing as possible, and seeing some of the issues that we have on Facebook and or in the past, and I don't think we've ever had it on GameWarn.net when that was there, or the other site. But what will the vetting process be for people that we don't know, or will there be anything? Because we currently have that problem, and again, it's how do you tell a new collector from somebody that's trying to post and say, hey, I have a Kelly Chase jersey and it's somebody else's pictures, or they're trying to scam or take advantage or do something nefarious?
That does. Excellent question.
Yeah. Right now, we have not totally worked out the vetting process. Your first couple of posts need to be approved when you're a new member. So right now we're letting anyone sign up, but when you post, it needs to be approved. I think that is a difficult problem to solve there for keeping.
It's very hard. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's like we need to figure out exactly the amount of information we need from people. And it is possible someone can post a few times, be rational, reasonable post, and then post, stuff from other people. We haven't worked out a policy yet on putting stuff for sale, other than having the group. I'm all open to if people insist on having it coined or having approved by sellers, marketplace people. I'm open to any idea in there, but that is one of the tougher issues that we are going to face, especially as it grows. So
I don't think that's any different than any of the other, any of the other forums, or any of the other locations. I do think that the post approval for the first couple is a great first step, because that means it takes somebody has to be vested in making a few posts before they can, go for
if you slow them down from being able to sell, is the best way to do it, in terms of, hey, if you can just wait, again, I'm just throwing a random number out there, 3 months, that should take away, because most people want to, let me get this out now, let me try to get the money as fast as possible.
Hey, here's one I'm just brainstorming with us just right now live. How about a seller profile that would be required? How about we have a forum place where if you're going to sell items, you have to provide a profile of who you are beyond your listing name, who you are, whatever, and that way we can track who a seller is and have at least that person be somewhat held accountable.
I like that, and setting up the profiles would not be hard. I can also block the ability to post in the Jersey Exchange one until you actually have a seller profile. So that's all. It's all doable. So I like the suggestion.
I'm just some dumb Midwestern hillbilly who doesn't really know a lot about computers.
You said it. We thought it, but you said it.
And we do have two things and Paul actually just made sure it was turned on, is the when you do register, you will get an email verification. So that at least defeats some of the spam bot stuff, and the back end spam bot countermeasure stuff is pretty, at least what I've set up so far was set up already by default, is pretty stout.
Yeah. Good.
And and if you guys see things wrong or have questions, again, even like what Matt asked, email one of us, or message us through Facebook or whatever, because things will be bumpy or that for just a little bit until we get things kicked off and get it adjusted the way smooth process. But it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
that's very exciting. What about a seller's well, not seller, but a dealer section? Are you going to charge and put that money back into the forum in terms of, like, again, it's probably none of my business, but like in terms of hard drive space or storage of the information that we post? Or Is it just going to be dealers have a special section, or will it just be collectors for collectors?
It's basically collectors for collectors. Now, if dealers, want to create an account and post on there, there's nothing stopping them. And right now, the plan is not to charge anyone. If some of the dealers want a section like MyGray had at GameWarn.net, that's something we can discuss. But I see no reason why dealers should be prevented from posting stuff for sale in there. I mean, because where do you draw the line between a collector and a dealer?
Oh no, I wasn't trying to like say that. I just didn't know if they would have their own section or.
Oh, right now, the plan is to put them in the general marketplace, but it is we can discuss if they want their own section or something, and that we might want to charge a fee for at that point. But we're never going to do anything like what GameWarn.net did, where if you want to sell jerseys, you have to pay a fee to sell.
Yeah.
And what's nice too is when once you're signed up and you're on the main page, there is even a members tab across the top. You can click on that and see every member that's currently registered.
Yeah.
Tells you how many posts they have, when they joined, and if they edit their details right, it would have their website, things like that. If they're a dealer or just a collector wanting to put a link to their photo gallery or whatever it is, those things are there as well.
I think we might be able to even customize that to add like check boxes if you're a dealer or something. I haven't looked into it.
And I will say, Matt, you asked about charging, and Paul and I actually had this discussion a little bit. If we wanted to do like what Game Worn had done later in the thing, where you sent them $1 and they registered you or whatever the money was, and I felt. And again, we could have taken those dollars together and put it back into the site, donated them to charity, raffled something off, wherever it was. But I kind of felt that I remember the huge ass backlash when Game Worn did it, and we can put other countermeasures or other things in place to verify people and not have to go through those extra steps.
I didn't mean for everybody.
No, and you're fine. I just wanted to say that we have had those kind of discussions, and just. I remember the amount of pissed off people when Game Worn did it, and our reasoning and stuff would be different, but it just is like, you know what, we can do it without that and make it fine.
Our goal is to create a community and support a community, which actually I think is already out there. It is not to make money. It's not to generate a revenue stream, even no matter how small it would be. I have the server I'm hosting this on. I have plenty of disk space. I have plenty of resources on there. I'm hosting a couple other websites on there too, and it's not a problem at all. If you guys can crash this with too much activity and stuff, then I will look at upgrading server space and stuff, and that would be a good problem to have
for sure.
So it's a challenge to crash the site. I'm on it.
By too much use, not by script injection or something else that
no.
Which I have no idea if I have it covered everywhere where to prevent that from happening. I think I do, but I haven't been working on this one long enough to guarantee that it's 100%. Well, I know it's not 100% hack proof in that case. So. But yeah, crash it by using it too much. That
you should smile more because you should be very proud of this. This is amazing.
Thank you. I'm happy.
And you have all your teeth too.
I'm sorry.
I was saying you should smile because you have all your teeth also.
Oh, well, yeah, but that helps. But no, very happy to have this going, and hopefully it takes off. And like I said, provide feedback. We'll probably in the next day or two, I should have seller profiles set up. And I love that suggestion. I think that's going to help a lot. Because, at least then a better idea of who you're dealing with. Of course, then we have to, deal with fake profiles, someone who copies Wade's profile, but and is selling as Wade. But, I have ideas on how we could potentially deal with that.
If there's a Wade profile that's selling a lot, it's not me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we'll be able to find that
There
in
we
about
go.
2 seconds.
Because if something ever happens, I'm selling a lot. It's gonna be a yard sale here in my town. So all you idiots are gonna have to fly here and come to the yard sale with my mom and sister hosts.
I can be there in a little over an hour.
I'm
I'll
looking
get
at
speeding
ticket
tickets
prices
on the
now.
That was great.
No, that's phenomenal. So we are almost to the second round. Sorry, almost to the Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals. Tomorrow will be the last deciding game for that, if my brain is working correctly?
Yeah,
because Florida and
I guess technically it could be tomorrow, could be the end of it, depending on what happens here right now with the Dallas Jets game, and then
tomorrow's Florida Maple Leafs.
Yeah, they could be settled tomorrow there too. So pretty interesting. I mean, it's been a crazy playoff already.
Oh yeah, some of the stuff that's happened and that. But Matt suggested, and it's definitely I think an interesting discussion is I'll let you ask it, Matt. You came up with it.
All right. I just throw ideas out there. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But I was wondering what you guys thought of the playoff set 3, set 4, depending. What you think of it? Because to me, it's hit or miss. Sometimes you get, because the game itself is ramped up. It's basically the regular season on steroids because everything is under the microscope. If you're hitting someone, you're trying to prevent the goal, trying to prevent somebody taking the puck away from a guy on the ice or whatnot. You are creating more wear and whatnot on jerseys. Sometimes not. And I was wondering what you guys value those jerseys, if you think they're special, if you think they're unique, if they garner a special price point, or if you think they're nothing special. I personally have been a guy throughout the years that typically stays the sets 1 and 2, and I found throughout the years that it again, like going back to what I said, it's hit or miss. Sometimes I'll buy a set 3 on a whim, thinking my team or a player I like is going to do amazing things in the jerseys, and I've gotten the jersey and I'm thinking, did he even wear it? And then other times I'm like, wow, I got a gem here for a decent price, and I'm really happy. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, what you feel about it, and do you collect them?
Wade?
Great question. I think for me, like set 3, set 4 playoff jerseys. So like I always harken back to my team in the Blues, and typically the set 3 jersey in past years, or the set 4, depending on the year, is usually used for like the last week of the season, and then they start the playoffs in those, right? So on home jerseys, my opinion on it is kind of more wide open than the road jerseys. And the reason I say that is home jerseys, even set 1 and set 2, get used for more limited games for most teams based upon third jerseys, Saturday jerseys, and specialty jerseys. So a lot of times home 1 and 2 may not have more than 6 or 8 games on them. Depending on a playoff set, or a set 3 might have a similar number of games on, right? So I've always said that playoff jerseys to me really depend on the year and how many games they play in, right? So if it's a true playoff jersey and the team gets bounced in 4 games and they played 2 games in them, obviously I think that they are probably worth less, or would carry less of a value than a set 1, set 2, or set 3 with more games, more use, more whatever, right? Again, it also depends on what the team does. I mean, a playoff set from a cup year could be really, really awesome if you're a collector of that team and you don't think you'll be able to get yourself a finals jersey. Then a playoff jersey can be the next best thing, if that makes any sense, right? So I think it depends on the situation. But again, I like knowing Matt. Matt loves wear, and I can see his point where The one thing I've noticed on these Fanatics jerseys just in this year is the white ones all on all teams seem to be showing a good amount of wear, right? All the goalie jerseys and the white jerseys, when you look at them on TV and they get close ups of those guys, they all show puck marks. That material shows a lot. So, and from what I've seen of the set ones and some of the set twos and some of the stuff that's popped up, it seems like the Fanatics jerseys do show wear. So, depends on how many games are in them and how well the team did in the playoffs for me. That was a lot.
I agree with you. I tend to look at, number of games played in it. How does the wear look? Which is nice when you're getting a jersey from equipment sales or, online where they actually have photos and you can see what the wear looks like. It doesn't help much for pre-orders. Now, there's a couple of teams I want to talk about in this regards. One of them, well, none of these teams I want to talk about are in the playoffs this year. They all missed.
I thought that might be the case, unfortunately.
Yes.
Wonder what teams they could be.
Yeah, well, we'll start with the Rangers. Oh. And all the Ranger sets I see for the playoffs is a new set of jerseys every round of the playoffs. So you get a lot of 2, 3, 4 game wonders, at best. And I'm assuming when the Rangers finally make it back to the playoffs, they'll probably keep doing the same things. I know and I'm sorry, I should apologize. That goes back to when Steiner was running it and then carried into Fanatics, that they were doing one set per round. Pre-Steiner, i.e. the Migrate days, I don't know if they were doing that. I don't think they were, but, if we're talking about jerseys we're buying now, that's something that's always bothered me when I look at Rangers jerseys. If I'm offered a playoff set or a regular season set, I almost always go with the regular season set in that case, unless I can see significant wear or something happen with it. Next team I want to talk about are my Red Wings. It's been a while since we've been in playoffs. It's been a long time, a really long time. It's painful. But back in the day when the Wings used to decide to participate in the playoffs, many years that have one set for the regular season and one set for the playoffs. And then sometimes new jerseys for the finals. Sometimes they patch the playoff jerseys. All dependent. But the interesting thing about the playoff sets is a lot of players could opt into them earlier. I remember one year Franzen switched his jersey like in January, started his playoff set in January. So, if you're trying to buy, back in the old days when you're buying over the phone at the equipment sale, it was sometimes difficult to figure out why a set 1 had lack of wear, set 2 was hammered, and they only made it, to the first round. So that, that was always one thing I found interesting with the Red Wings. I have no idea what they'll pursue when they finally decide to participate in the playoffs again. And then you guys know my last example would be the Sharks. Once again, missing out on the playoffs for a number of years, not as long as the Red Wings. But...
Oh, that was beautiful.
Ouch. I do think the Red Wings will be back in the playoffs before it, but since I'll go back to the older Sharks equipment sales. Typically, this was back when the Sharks Foundation was running it, before it was a privatized company. So a lot of the proceeds, a certain percentage of the proceeds went to the Sharks Foundation. The rest went back to the equipment team for buying new equipment or whatever hockey teams do. At the sale, let's talk lower end players. Regular season jerseys from lower end players were $300, $400, $500, $300, $400, $500 typically. Their playoff jerseys would be like another $100. So it'd be $400, $500, $600 for those type of players. Even for the higher end players who were like $1,500, their playoff jersey would be $1,600. So they added a premium, even like in the years I'll go back 15, 20 years now when they lost to the Ducks in round 1 in 6 games. Those jerseys were also $100 more. Conversely, when the year they made the finals, their finals jerseys were only $200 more than the regular jerseys. I thought as a collector and a fan, the pricing was just tremendous. And they wore a lot of jerseys in the finals. You guys can figure out what year. It's only one. And I think there were 4 sets. Mitch can correct me on that. The first 2 away games was a set. The next two home games was a set. Then a new jersey for Game 5 in Pittsburgh, and a new set for Game 6 in San Jose. And I think the players kept Game 6. And once again, this is a question for Mitch because he has this much more well documented than I do. So, do I care more about playoff jerseys than regular season? Usually not. It depends. And I don't have recent history to argue for it or against
Four
it.
score and 7 years ago.
Not that bad, but damn
the
close.
Playoffs.
Yeah, did they have color photography back then?
Barely. Actually, that's something we should talk about. Some of the old photo books, it's incredible. Some of the great color photographs I've gotten from like the 30s and 40s with the setups, 50s and 60s, the lighting setups that they had for that. And God, I forget the hockey photographer who's done all those books, but it's just some incredible work. But different topic, totally rambling. And for another
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I always wonder because I've seen with different teams and different programs, and even I'm not knocking anyone for doing it, whether it's my gray or a team individually of bumping up the price. And I always wonder if the juice is worth the squeeze on those per se, because it's all a gamble. It's kind of like pre-ordering. Hey, I would like this guy Celebrini, and you could pretend you could pre-order it, and they're like, well, if you want to set one, it's going to be, $25,000, and I'm out automatically on that. But there's been people over the years, and I'm trying to think of a gem. Oh, Neil, what was his name? Wasn't he Blues guy? Yeah, Wade probably has a closet full of them gems.
Neil Yakupov jerseys?
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
No, I'm trying to hold back. But again, like, I can't imagine investing that money, and my gosh, he's not that great. And again, no one's in this. Well, I'd like to think you're not in this hobby because you want to make money. You're in this hobby because you enjoy the sport. And I think that's what everyone should be in the hobby for, is enjoying the sport and the memories and sharing it with friends or family or whoever, and enjoying it that way. But it's a lot to swallow on some of these prices for jerseys. I mean, remember when we were talking about the Bedard jerseys popping up, and that one was in the frame? I don't know any one of us in here personally that would have the finances to go, you know what, I'll take that one, and I'll be able to afford something at the equipment sale coming up. And again, that's not necessarily a playoff jersey, but what do you feel about that? And more importantly, how many sets would you like to see like a team wear? Like, personally for me, I would love a home and away set 1, a home and away set 2, whatever specialty jersey, you get one of those, and then when the end of the season comes, they're in a new playoff set for home and away. Do you guys like that? I mean, this is the dream, because I'm trying to balance the fact that you want to make money off of it, and it's not feasible to have a team wear one set of jerseys through the whole season and then switch to a playoffs unless
here's the only thing that complicates that in 2025 moving forward is the McKenna rule, because with the players getting to keep 2 jerseys, it complicates it, right? So like we always harken back to our team. So like if I go back to the Blues typically wear home set 1, home set 2, road set 1, road set 2, and then, as I mentioned, the set 3 typically they were going into like the last week of the year, and then that was like the first round of the playoff one. So over the last couple of years, it seems like that was the one that the players kept, or that was just the one that, I guess, if the players didn't ask for anything specific, they just gave them those as their 2, right? So that, I mean, it starts to get interesting then. So, I mean, the question becomes, there isn't really three sets then. There's two sets available if you do it the way, do it that way, right? Um,
I did forget about that. Pardon my
no,
moronic
so
thought
for
process.
me,
Lots to
so for
keep
me,
track of.
no, and it is. It's different for every team, but that's just, like I said, from, what I collect, that's what we deal with, right? So I know we've seen in the past, like when they do a specialty jersey, whether it be the retro jersey or the Heritage Saturday jersey, or the reverse retros, I don't think they ever let them keep, as far as I know, because those have always, most all those have always popped up, right? Um, but I know that I've kind of, like, the last couple of years, I think the retro jerseys, Doc, have never really showed up in a full set because I think some of the players like them and are keeping those.
Yeah, it's a cool design. I would, if I had my choice, I would take that too.
Yeah. So like those are ones that like we've only been getting partial sets back of. And then you still don't see the set threes then pop up for the players that, have opted into something different. So it's really hard to say. I mean, for me, ultimately, I think we all like the idea of one road, one home, two sets, right? Um, and I think in a perfect world, that's what you'll see. But I don't. I also think that a lot of times the teams now understand that there is a business involved in this for them, so that's probably why you see them push more sets out, because they know they can make money selling them, right? And there's a supply and demand factor when you talk about the business aspect of it.
Are
Well, it's
all the
also
players taking those? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying
No,
it's also player specific.
yeah,
Specific on some players will wear three jerseys a game.
yeah,
Thornton did that. Others did. Other players will wear additional sets just because it's a cash cow. The
yeah, for sure.
CHL is famous for that. They'll put their top prospects in a jersey a game.
Yeah,
But it's I want to touch on what Matt and Wade had said here. I really don't care. Well, I care, but it's not as important to me how many sets there are or how many one game wonders. And I still don't understand the McKenna rule on exactly. I know the players can get up to two jerseys. I don't know if teams do one game wonders for them sometimes or let them take what they want. And this gets to my point. I just want to see it documented. I want to know how many sets there are, when they were worn, and then whether they were worn in one period in that game or the entire game. And I have not seen a team really document that well. The only place it's been documented well is the migrate population report. And I don't even know if they always get, the per period jerseys correct in there
yeah.
because it's an overwhelming task to do it for, the number of teams they have.
Well, the reason it's overwhelming task is, let's be honest, the equipment guys have better things to worry about than the collectability and the tracking of the jerseys. The best
Exactly
thing the
right.
Blues ever did, and now it seems like, Doc, remind me, are they giving us the game log sheets still?
As far as I'm aware,
Yeah.
for the set one, both home and roads, I got
Yeah.
those sheets. Yes.
So that's the best thing the Blues ever did, is they did those game logs when they put that, when they started. Now that it's in a different place, but when they started the barcode in it, it looks like they're scanning them in for the games, and at least scanning them in to start the game, and it says like, whole game, whatever, like in the date. That was the best thing that the Blues ever did. And I think that would be ultimately the thing all of us would like for all of our teams to do, would be to do something similar to like that, where you get a log sheet on the jersey that you acquire, where at least then it got scanned in to start the game. Now, here, could there be shenanigans after the jersey gets scanned in and a guy gets a bloody nose or gets a cut lip or needs some stitches and then swaps into his backup and they don't rescan it? Yeah. But I still think those game log things, and with them tracking them the way they track them with the shoulder tag, the team should have the ability to help their fans out with a game log.
I'd like to think so too. Now, with the St. Louis game logs you've been getting, have you had a chance to look over them carefully and see for your jerseys how accurate they were? Have you
I mean,
found omissions, mistakes?
from what I mean, I'm probably the worst guy for that because I'm not that guy, but like the ones I've gotten have seemed to be pretty convincingly put together. And I don't have any reason there's nothing that's led me to believe that they're incorrect, if that makes any sense. Like
Nice.
I've never seen or logged that he played in a game where the guy was maybe a scratch, if that makes any sense. So
And then Paul, what I've done at least with this past round of ones I got for this past season is I actually went up against the NHL's score sheet or of game logs and looked to see what the stats were for each game. If they got a goal and an assist, I actually wrote it into the right of that game.
I actually did that on a couple jerseys.
And then could look to see if they were in if they missed any games in that for scratches or injuries or whatever else. I don't like one of the ones I got. Tucker was, I think, up and down a little bit. So out of what was it, 16 or 20 home games played, then the number of home regular jerseys worn, which was, I think, 11 games. I think he played 5 or 6 of them. Yeah. Still had really good wear, but yeah, the actual scan sheet, which gave the date, I think it gave who it was against, and then said full game, or maybe even give time on ice. I can't remember. I don't have one in front of me. But then, yeah, I could go in against his stats on NHL.com and compare to see if anything was off. And then sometimes what I would do too is I'd have to go look at, and the Blues are really excellent at this, is they put out the jersey schedule at the beginning of the year. So I can go look at I know they wore the Heritage, the 90s, the Homes, and I think that was, and the Winter Classic style all at home. So I had to filter all of that in to figure out, okay, they only wore the actual Blues 6 or 7 games in set 1.
Yeah.
Whereas the Whites, they wore the max, I think, was 22 or 23 games.
Yeah, they're hammered.
Yes. And I love every bit of that.
There's that overused word.
No, you don't. So
I will say
for sure.
That's your word. That's what we're going to add. So we got Grail. We got
grinds my gears.
And now we got hammered.
And I know some other teams use that, Paul, because I've seen the other teams' jerseys with that exact same barcode in the neck. So it's a company that's put that out. I don't know if every team gets it by default or if they have to buy into it, but multiple teams are using it.
So, and that, then it becomes a process issue. Are they getting scanned? Are they getting scanned out? I don't really want to address that too much, but I will say the Blues provide the sheet that you're talking about. The Penguins did. I don't know if they're still doing it, and the LA Kings do. Those are only 3 teams I know that have provided the game logs. I'm a little bit shocked that Winnipeg doesn't do it, because they have by far the best LOAs in the league, and it would just be a nice little addition to it,
And if you're, as a listener, if your team does that, let us know. If you can't even shoot one of us a picture of the sheets, I'll try and remember before next show. I'll scan one of mine and pull it up, because it is kind of nice to see that information. Kind of piggybacking off what Wade said earlier too, in regards to the playoff sets, and again with the McKenna rule in play, and some of those bounces out a little bit. But one of the years I think about with kind of how things played out was the Blues Stanley Cup run year. They wore for their playoffs. I think you're right. They had 4 or 5 games in them at the end of the year, and then went into the playoffs. They wore that set through the first and second rounds, and then wore a Western Conference final set. And then for the Stanley Cup, I believe it was it games 1 and 3, 2 and 4, and then 5, 6, and 7 were all individual, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it depended on the player, I think. They wore like 1 and 2 were the road ones, then 3 and 4 were the home ones, and then they wore a 5, 6, and 7. So they wore, I think that's how they did it. I'd have to look back again.
And you're right. There may be 1 or 2 players that's off from that, and the players got the game.
There was like 1 or 2 players that wore them, like that were like that. It kind of stretched in that. Where like the 1 and 2 also was 5, right? But and then with those, that like the only was it the 5 and 7s? Well, I don't know. I'd have to look at it, but it was one of those like only one, like the white ones are like impossible, basically.
Yeah, the players took the game
Got
sevens,
the game 7 ones. So the white ones are like basically impossible to
and the
find.
game sixes everybody's they're sought after because they were worn in the parade.
Correct. Yeah, the
Also,
game 6. So yeah, that's how it worked. The game 6s were parade. Yeah. So those are, yeah, that was weird. But the Western Conference Final jerseys are, because we won the cup, are pretty desired. And that's another topic of this is cup year jerseys for teams. I know for the Blues, cup year jerseys hold a premium, which is kind of funny because if you remember, we were terrible in the first set jerseys, and they actually sold for absolutely dirt cheap in the auctions.
oh, very much so.
Like they were absolutely like giveaway jerseys because we were having an awful season. And I remember I got the Tarasenko set 1 from the auction, and I paid less than $1,000 for it, which was probably 1,000 less than the typical average for them at the time, right? But nobody else was bidding on them because they were playing like shit. So kind of worked out well.
To talk about the values and do you put more weight on certain ones? How the Blues did it too was kind of interesting. Is they sold the cup jerseys sold before the Western Conference Finals did.
Yeah.
The Western Conference Finals were actually listed early. I think it was early into next season or just before the next season had started.
And they went off because people who missed finals jerseys like went bonkers for them.
Well, or they were in some cases. I was able to pick up a couple and was at what I felt were reasonable prices.
Yeah.
But to me, I was happy to pay a little bit more of a premium, but I still thought the price was fairly reasonable because
well, any price felt reasonable after the way the Cub stuff sold.
Oh, right, for sure. But like I got a Robert Bortuzzo Western Conference Finals. He did some big things in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And that's part of what and it was the cup run. I didn't think I'd ever be able to get a cup jersey of any kind, be able to afford it. Luckily, they dropped some of the black aces later that I got at a reasonable price. And yeah, I mean it hung in a hanger in a locker room, but it's still part of that history.
Absolutely.
But that Western Conference Finals jersey to me has a significantly higher value than that issued cup jersey right behind me. Some people may disagree that just because of that patch, but I have, God, I think 20 photo matches of the Bortuzzo because at one point he got tossed out of the game and the back of his jersey looks like it was drug on concrete. There's all these marks down the back of the jersey. And it was from a fight he was in or what, but there's
that was Wade trying to get into the arena to steal a jersey.
Right. Just all of those kind of things. So I could be wrong with this, but I put a significantly higher value on that than an issued cup jersey.
And they do trade.
That was only a black ace. Nothing against him, but he never played a game.
And then that's one of the things right now that is, I mean, I don't know for your teams, I mean, Paul, for you guys and Matt, for you guys, like when your teams make substantial runs, do you guys find that your team stuff from a specific season are more revered because of the season?
I think so. Paul, do you want to go first?
No, you can go ahead because I think we're on the same wavelength on this. But
the Devils in 02-03 had the white set of jerseys, and I always wonder if that will change it up instead of grind your gears. We'll say frost your tailpipe. Do you in 02-03, going back to that, the Devils wore their white playoff jerseys through all 4 rounds and said, you know what? We're not done. We're going to put the Stanley Cup Finals patch on them and wear them up to the time. And those jerseys, I've had one in the past, which I've moved on from, sadly, but I'm happy to have had it and whatnot. But I look at what you guys deal with today, and you're like, man, this was worn in the conference finals. And I'm like, this jersey was worn through the whole playoffs, and they slapped the Stanley Cup Finals patch on it. And it's not the cup lifter jersey, but that's tremendous.
Yeah.
And but it's also, I look at it and you think there's more people collecting now, and the salacious nature of how people are feverish to own a jersey, it makes more sense to quote spread the wealth and have more opportunities to both make money, make people happy, but also there's diehards like probably Paul, me, all of us that would rather have, hey, could you wear that the whole season or a whole playoffs or whatnot, especially if it goes to the finals. And again, there was a time when, oh, this was worn in games 1 and 2, and now we have this was worn in game 1, or this is game 1, period 1 and 2, and there's a period 3.
Now,
does it take away the value? Does it add? And is you looking for loose threads, or as I make fun and call it, like locker room rub?
Now, also, who's in charge of the New Jersey Devils in 02-03?
Are you talking about
No, not selling. Who is in charge of the Devils themselves?
Oh, Big Lou.
What is Big Lou famous for?
Being frugal, or as some will say, like the little birdies that wake you up on Saturday morning, cheap.
So that's actually that's a topic that I was getting ready to jump into. At the end of this was, now that Lou is gone from the Islanders, what's going to happen with all that shit?
Stuff.
Garage sale time.
We don't talk like that here, Wade.
What's that?
We don't talk like that here. It's not shit. It's stuff.
Yeah, but think about, how much stuff is gonna, how many years have they been hoarding? So that was actually a topic that I was gonna kind of like drop at the end of this one.
That shit's bound to come out soon.
Yeah, it's just, I'm sure that few different entities are working on it, but it'll be interesting to see who gets it, and then where does it go, and how does it get distributed. But there's a lot of years of a lot of stuff there.
Well, and we hope somebody gets in that knows what they're doing and does it the right way and just doesn't backdoor everything.
Yeah.
And think about it. I know it goes back to at least 16, 17.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Think about how many jerseys that is. Even if he was being frugal and they were just doing set 1, set 2s, and maybe, who knows? Just think about how many jerseys that is. You're talking.
His son collects, or did collect.
Yeah, darn near a decade of jerseys.
Yeah, because when did Migray stop carrying in the Islanders?
16, 17, wasn't it?
I think it was way before that.
Well, okay.
I want to say right around 8, 9, 10, 11. It was right, I think, in that area.
Wow.
It was right before when they had remember the black alternate jerseys?
Yes.
So 05, 06, I remember they had those orange ones that were hideous that are now very sought after. They had the black ones were not part of the Migray team. So 10, 11, Brian Ralston was on the team, and I have one of those black ones. So it had to be before that.
Wow.
Or 11, 12, maybe it was.
It's just crazy to think of how many jerseys they have and then figure out how they're going to get distributed.
I have a 16, 17, and I can't. It's New York Islanders game worn jersey program with the head equipment manager. I thought I had a Migray tag in it, but I don't have it in my photos, so I can't say for certain. But
I will bet a case of bourbon that it was not a Migray jersey.
Yeah.
I think
you're probably right.
There's some really desirable names if you think about that run too. If it was 16, 17, or 18, 19, or whatever it was the last time that they really escaped, there's some desirable names that went through the island, and some cool style jerseys. So it'd be pretty fun to see what happens there.
Yeah, and let us know if you have internal contacts with the Islanders or somebody is working on that stuff. Let us know, or put us in contact with somebody we can talk to, because I'd love to hear what the plans are, because, that's going to be one hell of a vault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to the Mike McKenna rule, I've noticed with Migray, I haven't seen very many jerseys missing. So are they not taking them? Is it a smaller subset, like a jersey off their back night that they're getting, or
that would be my next. Yeah, that I wonder.
I know some teams do that. They do a single game, like one game worn jersey for the players. I don't know. I don't remember what teams they are, but been told a couple teams do it that way.
So if it's a migrate team that does that, should we expect those jerseys to be in the population report?
You would think under the
think
set
so.
determination. But
Yes, they've always had jerseys that have been in the population report that are you're like, I've never seen or heard of that. And it's like, oh, and I've noticed through the years that they've had they have like a section, you know, they have like the set, the color, whatever size, and then they have like notes and like, oh, player kept or player set only.
Very cool.
It's interesting.
Yes, it is.
I love it. This has been a fun discussion.
Okay, so I actually just pulled up. This is from this past year's the 23-24 population report. Went to the set dates for Columbus because they're the first one there. They did back-to-back games with the player sets, and it is listed. Thursday, February 9th, 2024 was at Carolina. It says promotional game player set.
Nice.
Saturday, March 2nd at Chicago. I'm sorry, Carolina was the third, their third set. And then the at Chicago game was their white. So they did back-to-back promotional games where the players kept those jerseys. That's for Columbus. Nashville.
But you wonder about non-migrate teams. Are they being worn more, less, the same amount? Is what's going on?
Yeah, Nashville's also a one-gamer. They did their first one, which was their reverse jersey, their gold at Florida on Thursday, March 21st. And then their second promotional set was the white Monday, April 15th at Pittsburgh.
Huh.
They're all it appears to be, let's see. All of these appear to be late season stuff. What's interesting though is, and I'm looking at this again to make sure I didn't miss it. New Jersey only lists one in the population report. They list Thursday, April 11th, one of the last games of the season, was the white. It says promotional game player set. 2 nights later, they had a promotional game jersey off the backs, but there is no other player set listed for them. Philly, does not. Philly doesn't list them at all. There is nothing listed for player jerseys on Philly's population report. Seattle. It's convenient to at least be able to go through this very quickly.
It is very.
Seattle, they don't either. They're the only promotional game listed is the jersey off their backs. There's no player ones for Seattle. The Caps, their player set for their whites were March the 7th, and their thirds were March the 30th. And then they also did a shirts off the back. So of the migrate teams, what was that? Half listed the 2 sets that the players got. The other teams didn't list them at all. Doesn't mean that they're either not doing something randomly that's not listed under the sets. Maybe you have to go sort by player for those teams, but at least some of those migrate teams are documented.
It's good.
Going back to like the Stanley Cup final stuff, I know when I was very heavy into like the Devils and going to games and meeting up with players, we'd ask them like, what jerseys do you have? And I'd ask them, and some of them didn't have their Stanley Cup Finals jersey. And I'm thinking, where is that at? If you don't have it, where did it go?
Yeah.
And it all depends on, I guess, when. Is some teams may have, knowing that there was deep money in those, screw it, the players aren't getting them. There was no requirement to give it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that stuff comes into play.
And I'm glad you looked that up. That was really neat that you pulled it up that quick. I was pretty impressed.
That's at least I have some decent computer skills in something. But it is a neat thing, and I wish we could track it across more teams. And if you, again, if you're a collector of whatever team and you talk to somebody that knows what the players are getting, let us know. We would love to document that.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have anything from your experience with the Sharks from when they went to the Stanley Cup final? Did they? I have no idea what they did. I would love to hear if you know, have knowledge or share. Did they wear like one set and then they put the Stanley Cup final patch on? Was it round by round or?
It was a new set. First 2 games were on the road. That was 2-game wonders, then 2-game wonders at home, and then it was 3-1 Pittsburgh. So I'm pretty sure when they went back to Pittsburgh wore a New Jersey also, but would have to check on that. But the Sharks did too. They had a 1-game wonder white set. And then when they came home for game 6, because they won at Pittsburgh, they lost game 6 2-0. Or was it 2-1? I can't remember. I think it was 2-0. And those jerseys, that was a separate set, white, and most of the players kept that. So that's and the bulk of them were sold at the equipment sale. I was just looking through the photos the other day. They had like a full rack of Stanley Cup Finals jerseys. It was a little bit confusing figuring out which was, like on the aways, which was set 1 and which was set 2. Because I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think they had the dates marked in there correctly. And I think someone had like a 1 or 2 in the neck to distinguish them. But it's so long ago, and I was shocked at how inexpensive the Sharks sold those jerseys for.
I feel bad for you when you say it. So long ago. I feel like the
Yeah,
beginning of the
it
Star
was.
Wars trilogy is coming. Galaxy long ago.
It was a long time ago, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet it was.
I bet
I did pull up the CBA too, and just search for jersey and immediately found it. The only wording that's in there, it's generic. It says clubs will make 2 game-worn jerseys available to each player on a complimentary basis, provided that they are for players' personal or charitable use and not for commercial use. That is the whole piece in the CBA on it. And I know going back to a few years ago, when people hit certain marks, like 1,000 game or whatever, the player a lot of time will keep that jersey. And Wade and I've verified that over the years with checking on a few different players. And so I think that happens a lot too. A lot of teams were offering those even pre-CBA stuff, but now I think you may see that more because they now know they can ask, hey, that's what I want. Because even in the CBA, it doesn't say that it's the teams will make a special set or anything. It's whatever that seems like it's whatever the teams want to do.
Hey, real quick, I just thought of something. Which teams did you see only had 1 jersey listed
For the
migrate thing?
that was.
Here's my question before you get too crazy. Did those teams play in either an outdoor game or a specialty game? Because they would have gotten one of those jerseys from that, so that would cover their second jersey.
That's a good call.
One was Washington from 20. Well, let's see. Wait a minute. Let me go back here again. Sorry.
Yeah, that was just. I mean, it doesn't require like live update of it, but just thinking that might be the second jersey if
that's a thought. Washington's fine. They had 2.
Check Columbus because they had the Stadium Series.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you said Columbus had the first 2 games, home and away.
Yeah.
So Kraken didn't list any, but they did play in the Winter Classic, so maybe that counted for 1.
Oh, yeah.
Why
that's
would you not have a second?
It was just a thought.
No, that's an excellent thought for them. Let's see. So the Flyers played the Stadium Series.
And I thought you said
they would have probably gotten 1 from there, but there's no other documentation listed for them as far as a player set.
So you're looking at 23, 24, right?
Correct. I went with the newest, knowing that it was well inside the McKenna rule.
Yeah.
Let's see. So this one may track. This is the, so I'm cutting it from the bottom. The Devils also played in Stadium Series. So they have at the end of the year, a white player set. So that should track theoretically that they got one of the Stadium Series. And that's maybe what took care of it.
Yeah.
But since Fanatics would have been doing some of that, that may have fallen outside the purview of the MyGray population report. And if MyGray hears this and they know differently, feel free to let me know.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing by what I'm reading here.
Just deductive reasoning is what we're doing.
Yeah, no.
It's very good the tool to use. You should always use it in this hobby.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But it's interesting stuff to look at. And again, thank you, MyGray, very much for putting those population reports out, because we can at least see what some of the teams are doing and even maybe able to formulate what some other teams are doing because of that, or at least be able to generalize it. So, and like I said, if there are people out there that have ties to teams that can ask them or know that, let us know, because we'd love to put that in a document or something.
I have a fun question.
Or we could put it on a forum page.
We sure can.
Is there one out there yet?
It's coming.
By the time people listen to this, that's actually there already.
Well, 50 posts.
But yes, please sign up for that. We'll kind of go around the horn here. Matt, since you're our guest and brought this topic, I'll let you go first with any final thoughts.
I hope it was a fun topic. I know we talked for a long time, and I always like thought-provoking conversations that maybe don't always end with one conclusion, but make you go, I wonder if I can look at it this way, and I would be happier with it. And I have a question back to all of us for fun. Which would you prefer? Your team in the Stanley Cup final year, you get set one with great wear. We'll leave it at great. I don't want to say hammered. We'll just say great wear, something you'd be proud of. Or would you rather have one with the Stanley Cup finals patch on, but it was only won in one game? I think I already know what you guys are going to say, but.
Who's
I'll go.
Paul, go ahead. Go ahead. You had your hand up there.
Well, clearly, if it's Fanatics, I want neither. So we'll start with that. But in general,
it's a new brand. It's called Cooper.
I would go with the heavy wear, almost hammered set one in almost every case. Unless I mean, there might be, if the team loses the cup, I'd definitely go with the hammered heavy wear set one. If the team wins a cup, it gets closer, but one game wonder, unless it's a hat trick jersey or something really, really special. I'm 99 times out of 100, I'm going with the set one.
That's why I love you, Paul.
Fanatics. So,
Wade,
I mean, I hate to say it, but like, as much as I love wear and all that stuff, I mean, the opportunity again, I think it does fall into whether or not it's a winning cup year or not. Winning cup year. What's that?
I didn't say anything. I didn't call you a loser.
Winning cup year finals jersey. I'm going with that. Losing cup year. My favorite player set one. I'd probably go with that in the losing cup year, depending on the situation or what my favorite player did in said finals jersey.
Like Danton.
Yeah, no, it's just so hard to. I mean, just because I guess finals jerseys become kind of so elusive, So that's my answer. I guess that's what I'm sticking to is winning cup year. I'm definitely going with the cup finals jersey, just because I have recent living proof of how difficult some of those can be.
And see, I would go regardless, especially because it's our team. We don't see the cup finals often, and knowing what those go for. And again, we don't have any examples for losing cup year for us, Wade, since we don't really see it much. But just having that patch and knowing we were there, I always know I could go back and buy next year, pick up the players set one if I needed to. But the cup's just enough special to me, especially for a team that's only saw it seen it more in my lifetime. I mean, I think no, I wasn't born yet when they first went to the Cup, way back. But that's how I would look at it: is the opportunity to have a Cup jersey is way lower than be able to pick up a set one.
Yeah,
I did not see that coming from Dr. No Pepper. The last thing I was going to say when we say we're going around the horn here quick, I bust Wade's chops a lot and I tease him a lot. I just want to say you're a beaut, Wade, and I love you, brother.
I appreciate
I like all you guys too. And then if I tease you and whatnot, know that if I didn't like you, I wouldn't tease you and I wouldn't roast you.
We have a lot of
talk about people losing their hair, or having glasses, or being 100 yards from farm animals.
Yeah.
Just want to say that. Thank you guys for allowing me to be on the show, and I hope I'm not too much of a distraction.
Oh, Matt, I love our banter. I love, the text messages and the conversations we do have, because they are always very hobby intensive. And I think sometimes people, it's always good to be thought provoking about what you do. And I think sometimes people find people to be polarizing, and maybe because they don't understand the complexity of how much we care about this stuff, right? So I think it's fun, and I appreciate your banter, and you're my favorite overweight mailman. I mean,
Liar. What you call me, bitch? What the fuck? Those eyes checked, and stop texting my mom.
She texts first.
All right, Paul, what do you got before we wrap this up?
Well, I'll stay out of this whole fray right here. Let's see. Been enjoying the playoffs. None of my teams have none of my teams I like made it, but then other teams I still like. The only team which I can tolerate is the Jets. And as of this recording, they're still in the playoffs. So let's hoping they do well. And it's been some great hockey, a lot of fun. Same with the AHL playoffs, which we've been enjoying. I just do want to circle back. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to start promoting the new forums. Please sign up at forums.dirtylaundryhockey.com, and we'll have an update on it next week.
Yes, I can't wait to put out a bunch of numbers and see people get signed up. If you have issues, things like that, please let us know. It is an exciting thing, and I know I probably almost beat it to death, but Paul, I appreciate, again, all your hard work with it and doing that technical stuff to get this out there and tweaking all the things to make it look good and test. And I think people are going to be very excited about having another way to put their stuff out there, have conversations with people, and it all just makes the hobby better. With that, please give us a like, subscribe. If you want to come on, if you have topics like Matt provided to us, things like that, reach out. If you don't want to come on, but give us topics anyway, that's great. But we'd love to have get some other people on the camera and stuff and talk hockey. But thank you again for all the support. You guys enjoy the weekend. We'll see you back next week.